Hey, what's up guys, it's BenBonk and welcome back to the 21st Slimekeep Devlog. In this devlog, I made some small tweaks and also some massive changes to the capture gun system. Also, if you're new here, Slimekeep is a fast-paced roguelike where you must kill and capture slimes to stop the corruption that's infected your land. Without further ado, let's hop into it. The first few things I worked on were just some small adjustments and fixes. First up, I fixed an issue where randomly bullets would go through doors. This was just some easy layer adjustments, which fixed the issue. Next, I wanted to finally get around to adding ammo and battery drops to the game, so that's what I did. I made a half ammo pickup sprite, a full ammo pickup sprite, and I got to reuse the half and full battery sprites from the shop. I then just worked on the logic for this and made it so that there's a 1 in 100 chance for any of these 4 drops to potentially spawn after completing a room. So yeah, here's what this looked like in action, and all the player has to do is walk over these little pickups. Moving on, I fixed an issue where slimes would briefly go through walls on death, and also made the shopkeeper's dialogue bubble pop up a little bit faster. And I also added in a little kind of poison drop above slimes when they were poisoned with the poison bullets upgraded. The next issue I worked on was a ton of these path failed warnings for the slime pet and other slimes in the game, which I thought was the cause of some movement issues with these slime pets. I assume that this might have been because the graph I was using for my pathfinding was really large to fit all kinds of level generations, and didn't adjust to fit the level, causing some issues with its size. So I tried to fix this by adjusting the graph to fit the level better. I first just learned how to adjust the graph dimensions in runtime, and then moved on to programming a solution. Oh, and yeah, I switched to JetBrains Rider for my IDE, so that's kinda cool. But in the end, my first solution was to loop through all the rooms in the level, find the farthest room in all directions, and adjust the graph based off of this. But apparently I messed up my code a lot, and this was totally inaccurate, which caused a ton of headaches. I then just adjusted my solution to add all the room coordinates to 2 lists and find the appropriate rooms based on that, using the smallest and biggest coordinates. This definitely wasn't the cleanest solution, but it kinda worked, so I rolled with it. The only problem I encountered was that the graph was a little off because the room positions aren't on the edges of rooms, but rather in the middle, so the algorithm would think that this is the edge of the room when it really wasn't. I could have done some math here to get things exact, but I settled for the easy way out and just added a bit of padding, which fixed the issue. So now graphs are a bit more accurate to level generation. Though after doing this, I quickly realized that this didn't actually fix the issue with the slime pet, but at least it helped a little in performance, so that's nice. Also, speaking of nice, that's very nice of you to wishlist Slimekeep on Steam for me. Thank you very much, it helps a ton with the Steam algorithm, link in the description if I'm not a mind reader. But back to actually fixing the issue. After hours of searching, I found out that I let slimes traverse every graph in the scene instead of the 8-directional one, which is used by almost every slime, except for the square slime. So I fixed this for every slime, which fixed the error issue, but not everything per se. So back to work I was, and eventually I created this kind of hacky solution of telling the slime pet to move towards the player if the target is null. This kinda worked and prevented the slime pet from getting stuck, which was nice. But with that said, I wanted to start working on a new slime pet upgrade system, which is something that really needed a lot of work, so I drafted out a bunch of ideas for possible changes and new systems. I really like the idea of having a currency system for capturing, while having slimes you capture affect which upgrades you can purchase for your pet. But when drafting up ideas for this currency system, I was naturally dead set on having more upgraded or more difficult slimes give more currency, which sounds good in theory, right? But then I realized this kinda just doesn't make any sense, because every slime has the same difficulty to capture, so it just makes no sense to reward the player for this. I could have made each slime give the same amount of currency regardless, but that felt kinda plain and doesn't really follow the game's risk-reward focus. Also, as of now, it was incredibly easy to capture slimes. All you have to do is walk up, briefly hold down the mouse button, walk away, and boom, the slime is captured. There's no real point to actually capture slimes from afar, because that would take more of your battery ammo, so all of this kinda inspired me to rework the capturing system before I got to working on the slime pet. Anyways, I first just wanted to rework the flow of capturing and how you engage capturing slimes. Initially, I decided to try to rework the capture area collider from going to the capture gun out to having the capture collider come back into the capture gun, so the player couldn't just run up to slimes and briefly hold down. However, while testing, this whole system felt really clunky and unnatural to me, so I ditched it and got back to work. I decided to ask my Discord for ideas on how to solve this issue, link in the description if you want to join, but I got some really good ideas from there. Especially the idea for a panic state, which would send the slime into a state where they try to escape from being suctioned, and the slime could only be captured after this panic state was over, which would fix a lot of the issues in making them too easy to capture, and would make slimes feel a little more alive. This sounded good, so I started off by reworking the particles to go outwards instead of inwards for the capture gun. I know this might not make total sense, but I just think it looks a lot better and more natural to me compared to the previous way of doing things, so hang with me. I also made it so when the player holds down the capture gun, he moves much slower than normal to balance things out a bit. Next, I started working on this new panic mode. My plan was for once you start capturing a slime, an exclamation point will pop up above their heads and they will enter panic mode where they will jolt around and try to escape the suction area. If the player manages to control the slime for long enough, the slime will then move towards the capture gun, kinda like how it previously was. And finally, I like the idea where the slime would put in a last stand escape attempt just before being captured, where you have to time a button press correctly to complete the capture, but I'll get in this in just a little bit. But anyways, I got to work creating this system. After a decent amount of programming, things weren't going too well, but a little later I made some massive improvements, and now the panic mode was looking a tad better. Also, if the slime now leaves the suction area, the capture will fail, and I created this little cooldown for the capture gun where you cannot change weapons or capture for a few seconds. Next up, I wanted the difficulty of a capture to scale with the difficulty of a slime, so I did some math and got the move force or distance the slime moves while in panic mode to scale with its health, and got the time between jumps or time between escapes to scale with the slime's time between jumps variable. And with that said, the panic mode was looking pretty good, and I got the suctioning portion once the slime is tired enough set up. But I was still missing the minigame and last stand portion that I wanted to add, so I got working yet again. My plan for this minigame was for there to be a vertical bar with a handle rapidly moving back and forth. There'd also be a win area where you must release the mouse button once the bar is over this win area to successfully capture the slime. And if you don't, you fail to capture it. So in general, think of it kind of like an Undertale attack or a bit like the fishy minigame in Stardew Valley. Eventually, I had a slider that would pop up once this minigame mode is triggered with the handle tweening back and forth. Back to work I was, and I started setting up the win and lose areas for this minigame. My solution for this was that I had one main slider for the handle move up and down, and also two win hit sliders which I could adjust the value to adjust the difficulty of the minigame. And speaking of difficulty, I also made the size of this win bar scale with the number of slime balls a slime is supposed to drop, which I figured was a good metric for determining the difficulty of a slime. So in short, the more slime balls a slime will drop, the smaller the win bar is, and the more difficult it is for the player to time it right. But anyways, I then got a collider to scale based on these hit bars, and here's what some of this looked like in action. However, now I need to work on checking collision and that such, so I did that, and now depending on when you release the capture gun, you can either succeed or fail in capturing a slime. And I also made sure to add a little text pop-up to give some visual representation. This was cool and all, but there was still one main problem. This bar was super ugly, so I created some art to go along with it and spent a bit of time setting it all up. And with all that done, you can see how the bar can move up and down, and also how the hit areas can adjust. So here's what this looked like in game. You might also notice that now, whenever you capture a slime, in the top left corner, I've decided to use the white bar under the player's health to represent the player's kind of slime inventory. I made it so that once capturing a slime, the slime's slime ball drop amount will go into this inventory, and so the player can only hold so many slimes at once. How to clear this inventory, I'll get into that in the next devlog, hopefully. But moving on, I needed a way to store the data of each slime that was captured through the capture gun. I tried to directly store the slime game object itself in a list, but I quickly realized that wouldn't work because, well, Unity. So instead, I made this inventory data class for each slime, which can hold data that is needed for being captured. So once I capture a slime in game, you can see this list update here with the data that is assigned to the slime. And, well, at this point, the core capture system was pretty much done. However, there were still a plethora of bugs to patch up. For example, I realized that when the player dashed and switched weapons too quickly, it would have caused weird changes to the movement speed. After hours of debugging and problem solving, I realized that this was because of how the dash increases and decreases the player's speed, so I made a fix which just made it so that the player couldn't swap weapons while dashing. But mainly there were issues with capturing slimes and just general weird behavior like randomly stopping capturing slimes or just slimes not being able to be captured. I spent quite a few days knocking out as many of these bugs as I could, and I got quite a few, but there's still some bugs lingering around that I need to work on. And well, the final real thing that I worked on was just making the whole panic mode for slimes being captured a lot more fast paced, as previously it was kinda slow and boring. But with that said, I think the capture system was looking good. I definitely don't think this capture system in panic mode is 100% done yet. There's still a few bugs that I mentioned that I want to patch up and changes I want to make to improve it, which I'll try to do in the next devlog, so please don't freak out. But do let me know what you think of this in general, as this is a pretty big change for the game. But that's all for this devlog. I hope you guys liked it, and if you did, consider subscribing or liking the video. Also, please consider wishlisting Slimekeep on Steam, it really helps. Anyways, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.